Okay, so hi everyone, welcome you all in our course data analysis using R programming. And today we are on the last session of our basic R programming, where we are covering about the basic introductory details about R programming. And today we are on the last session of this particular module. And today we are going to cover a little bit more details about the functions. So in our previous class, what we have discussed, let me give a little recap so that everyone will be on the same page. So in our previous class, we have discussed about conditional statements and introduction to the function. And I give you a introduction what exactly the function is and what the role basically this function is playing into the programming activities. So just to understand or just to refresh the previous introduction about function, the function is basically used to just modularize the your bigger problem. Okay, so like in our yesterday's class we have discussed about university examination process. Okay, so if you are handling exam kind of examination of university system, at that time what you need to do, you need to divide the bigger problem into the smaller problems. Okay, and if you solve those smaller problems and combine those successful problems, right, then you will see that all your bigger problem will be automatically solved, right? So that is why the modularization of the programming is very much important. Okay, so that modules, what I'm talking about, that modules is basically called as functions, right? Like for example in our mobile system, right, so we are having different types of functions, right? So for example, if you wanted to handle the kind of the brightness, right, brightness of the mobile, a different kind of function is working for that. If you wanted to play a YouTube, okay, a different type of function, is dedicated function is available for that particular thing. If you wanted to do a Google search, you are having a web browser, or you can say a special function for that, right? So a mobile system is configured based on, or you can say, the utilization of multiple functions. Okay, and those functions are combined together, okay, just to form a bigger mobile, right? Or you can say the rich facility mobile, right? So that is why the functional programming came into the picture, right? So how we will do a functional programming? Okay, so today again we are going to cover the almost similar kind of things, okay, so that you can understand by one or more examples. Okay, so in our previous class I discussed you everything in a much more detailed. Okay, but I today in today's class I will again almost cover the similar kind of things, but give a little bit broader example so that you can understand the concept in a little bit deeper way. Okay, so everyone, most of you are, I'm sure that you are quite comfortable with handling the ATM card. Okay, ATM transactions, automatically transaction machine. Okay, so basically ATM machine is just used for giving you cash. Okay, when you are just inserting the card into this particular machine, machine is giving back you the cash. Okay, some other types of ATM machines are also there, like just to have maybe some grocery. Okay, and you are just inserting the cash and you are getting a grocery from this particular ATM machine. Okay, so basically ATM, AVM, okay, automatic vending machine, right? So these are almost similar kind of concept, right? So like in the ATM machine, what generally you will see, okay, so in the ATM machine there is a multiple processes is being done. Okay, so I'm talking about a ATM machine which basically is working for the withdrawing the cash. Okay, so the first step, okay, or maybe I can note out the example: ATM transaction, right? So in the ATM transaction, the first is that when you insert into the cabin, okay, over there ATM is placed, right? So the first and the foremost task is that just to insert your card into the machine, right? Since machine is there, you are having a card, you will insert your card into the machine. So what the first step will be done is just to validate you whether you are a legal customer or authorized customer of this particular ATM machine. Okay, or you can say authorized customer of this particular bank. Okay, so based on your card detail, based on your backend account details, okay, it will verify whether what the person who is inserting the card, that particular person is authorized to just do this particular transaction or not. Okay, so this is called as validation process. So validation process itself a very tedious task, or you can say a lengthy task. Okay, so but it is just a part of a ATM transaction. Okay, so a validation part is just play a role of called as a simple individual function, okay, which will just validate the particular customer so that anyone can easily be verified to just get the cash from this particular ATM machine. Okay, now the second step, second function you can say is that checking with corresponding bank. Checking with corresponding bank. Okay, so how you will check the bank from the bank? So the banking system is kind of a very collaborative. Okay, ATM machine means you are having a one ATM card and you can detect the cash from any of the ATM machine. Okay, so bank is collaborating with each other, and based on that they will settle that particular amount. So let's suppose you are just doing a transaction into bank A, okay, and your account is in bank B. Then A will raise the request to the bank B that your customer is just deducting a amount from my bank. Okay, so please that amount should be paid by you. Okay, or if you are just a customer of bank A and you are deducting the money from ATM of bank B. Okay, then bank B will ask to the bank A that your customer is just depositing or maybe withdrawing your money from this particular ATM. Okay, so please settle out this particular amount by sending this much amount to in my account. Okay, so in that way this particular checking process is being done. So this is also a very this is a very, I can say, independent process is being handled by a separate function. Okay, now the third step is that verification from the bank. Okay, verification from the bank, right? So how the verification can be done? So bank is knowing you as a customer. Okay, so they are having a KYC policies. Based on that your account is being opened into that particular bank. So when you insert your card during the validation process, you will enter the card details, or maybe you will enter the pin password. Okay, whatever the details you will enter, based on that it will log in into your customer detail form. Okay, and over there it will verify that what the person who is inserting the card is authorized customer of this particular bank or not. Okay, so if the verification is being done, then only you are authorized to just deduct the amount from that particular ATM machine. So verification from the bank is also playing a individual function. So now the fourth step is that amount disbursement. Okay, so once your validation, corresponding bank checking or verification from the bank is being done, then it will ask you just how much amount you wanted to withdraw from this particular ATM machine, right? So you will give a certain value. Okay, so it will check whether the value you are entering, this is the authorized value. Okay, authorized means that this value should not be more than the total amount is in your bank. Okay, so this amount should be less than or equal to that particular amount which is available into your bank account. Okay, so if it is validating that particular part, then this amount will be automatically dispersed from your account. Okay, so this is another step which actually handled by a separate function. Okay, which actually just validating the amount and dispersing the amount, counting the notes. Okay, maybe it will segregate into the different currencies, maybe smaller notes, maybe bigger notes. Okay, so in that way it will arrange and it will disperse the amount. Okay, now another function which actually used just to handle the security threats. Okay, so maybe whatever the amount is being disbursed, okay, there might be some security threat as well. Okay, so there is a total, maybe some fraudulent activities is being happened. Okay, so how these fraudulent activities can be tracked and traced and can be mitigated, right? So this part is being handled individually by the security threat management, right? So for now we are having these many steps. I'm recalling. Okay, so but there may be a multiple other steps as well. Okay, so like for example, ATM transaction is a bigger problem that when you are just developing a software, or you can say when you are developing or solving a problem of ATM transaction related issues, right? So you are going through different parts, like validation part, checking with corresponding bank part, verification from the bank part, amount dispersal, security threat management. Okay, so these parts, these individual function you need to write, and you will collaborate all those together just to have a very smooth transaction of the money from this particular bank. Okay, so this is the one problem we are solving here, right? So if I'm just zooming it out in a multiple arenas, right? So like for example, how the validation process will be done. Okay, what the things you will write into this particular part, right? So validation can be done in a multiple ways. Firstly, it will check whether you are a human or robot. Okay, this may be the one validation part. Like for example, it will give a number, or maybe it will give a very jumbled number, and based on the jumbled number you need to just figure it out what the number it is, and you will insert that number, and based on your insert value it will understand whether you are a human or you are a robot. Okay, this can also be one validation part. Another is that maybe you are not a authorized customer, so it will ask you certain things which is only known by this particular customer, like for example their pin. Okay, maybe like their date of birth. Okay, or maybe some special details which is being kind of already provided to the bank, and bank is only knowing that particular details, and a customer is also knowing that particular details. Other than this, no one else is knowing that. So this can also be the one part of the validation process. Okay, and also which type of service you wanted to take. Okay, so like for example, if you check with the bank, then bank will ask that what type of service you wanted to check, right? Maybe you wanted to just change the pin, maybe you wanted to make some other request, maybe you wanted to just transfer money from one account to another account. Okay, there might be multiple types of actions can be performed into this particular ATM machine. Okay, so this is also a separate type of functions, right? Or maybe sometimes you are only just checking the amount from your bank account, right? So this is also one separate part, right? So these are the different parts which actually collected together, and those are formed the bigger problem, solution of the bigger problem, right? Clear? Now another problem, let's suppose you are just hosting a small party. Okay, a small party, or you can say a very kitty party in your home. Okay, hosting a party, right? Hosting a party. So in a party there are multiple things is being done. Okay, so you are dealing different functions. Okay, different parts are there, different steps are there. Those steps you are just solving together just to have a very good party in your home. Okay, the first part is like for example, you will arrange the fooding. Okay, fooding, right? So fooding is a part which is handled by a separate person. Okay, maybe like for example, since you are hosting this part, so you will assign someone that please just prepare a food for us. Okay, this person will start just cooking the food, right? So fooding is an individual department, okay, that will handled by a separate team. Now another team is that which will just selecting the clothes. Okay, or you can say clothing team. Okay, so you will assign some people that just to purchase some clothes, okay, for me, for the guest who will come over here, or maybe the gifts what I wanted to give as a return gift to them. Okay, so those things I will purchase. Okay, so this is also a separate team will be handle this particular thing. After the third step is that maybe entertainment, right? So entertainment is very much important, right? So in a party, right, so you will just allocate a different persons just to do some activities. Based on that, people will laugh, or maybe they have some enjoyment. Okay, so it means that you need to arrange some entertainment for the guest whom you are asking. Okay, another thing is just transportation, right? So like if the people will start coming, okay, how you will how the people will travel. So you will arrange a separate department who will provide the transportation facilities to your guests. Okay, so here you are seeing that just to hosting a bigger party, okay, you are dividing the whole party into smaller components. One component is fooding, one component is clothing, one component is entertainment, another component is transport, right? So in all those steps what you are seeing, okay, so fooding is separate function. Okay, this function is done by some peoples. Okay, they will handle the fooding part. Clothing is a different function, people will handle this particular part. Entertainment is handled by the different team, they will handle this part individually. Okay, transportation is handled by the separate team. Who you are? You are the collaborator of all those things. Okay, so you are a programmer, you develop a small functions for all those things. Okay, after that you will collaborate together just to solve a bigger problem, or you can say you will solve the, you will just have a very good party in your home. Okay, now another example, like for example, since you guys are just going ahead with the data analysis activities. Okay, you are looking for the future where you will do the data analysis activities in your life. Okay, so during the data analysis activities, so let me write a bigger problem, data analysis. Okay, so data analysis is a bigger problem. So what are the different steps of data analysis is? Okay, so the first step may be data collection, right? Data collection. So during the data analysis activities, what the data analysis you are going to do? Let's suppose you are solving a bigger problem. Okay, someone asked that whether I should to open a mall into this particular area or not. Okay, let's say, okay, this is a problem that a person came to you, and he is a very rich man, and he wanted to just establish a mall into your area. Okay, then he will tell you, as an analyst, you are an analyst, and then he will tell you that I wanted to open a mall into this particular area, whether this area will be good for just establishing a mall or not. Okay, let's suppose this is the problem you are having. Okay, so in this activity, you know that firstly you need to understand about the data analysis. Okay, what the data analysis is doing, telling to you. Based on the result of the data analysis, you will go ahead just to taking a decision whether a mall should be open into this particular area or not, right? So before doing the data analysis, what the different steps you will perform? Okay, so data analysis will be done when you are having data, right? So the first step you will do is just for data collection, right? So data collection will be there. Once data collection will be completed, then you will move ahead for data pre-processing. Okay, data pre-processing, right? So once data will be in your hand, then you will process that data, because sometimes what the data you are collecting, this data is not up to the mark. Based on that, you will do the analysis directly. You need to modify this data, right? You need to maybe manipulate some data. Okay, maybe you need to remove some data, maybe you need to just, some data is missing, you need to impute some data, right? So there may be multiple type of activities you need to perform into that particular data. This step is called as data pre-processing, right? Now another step is that once data pre-processing is being done, you will move ahead for data analysis, data visualization, right? So you will go for the data visualization. So once kind of a data visualization will be there, right? So based on that, you will figure it out that specific kind of trends, okay, maybe some opinions. Based on the visualization, you will have a very good, or you can say very better understanding about the data, and based on that you will take some judgment. Okay, so along with the visualization, you will do the data analysis. Okay, and in under the data analysis activities, you know that there are multiple steps are there, like simple summary statistics calculation, maybe some inferential statistic calculation, maybe model building, statistical model fitting. Okay, maybe some need to perform some machine learning activities. Okay, so those activities you will do under the data analysis activities. And the last step is that once you are done with the data analysis activity, you will move ahead for the result, or you can say interpretation of the result. Interpretation, right? Interpretation of the result. So these are the small components just to solve a bigger problem. Okay, hope you are able to connect this particular part. When you are when some person will come to you and ask that I wanted to open a mall into a specific area, then what are the steps you will do? So you are seeing that these steps we need to perform. It means that these are the separate functions. Okay, like data collection is done by a separate team, they will only collect the data. Okay, what are the activities they will perform? They can perform, maybe they will send us, they will do the survey. Okay, maybe they will do the survey, maybe they will conduct the interviews. Okay, they will conduct the interviews, they will ask nearby peoples. Okay, nearby require maybe requirements. Okay, or maybe they have opinion poll. Okay, opinion poll, or maybe web scraping. Okay, web scraping, There's a multiple ways based on that the particular team will collect the data, right? So this is altogether a separate function, right? Separate function which will only collect the data, right? So now once the data is being captured by this particular team, then this data will be moved ahead for the data pre-processing activities. So under the data pre-processing activities, maybe you wanted to do a tidying process, maybe you need to do some manipulation activities, okay, maybe you need to perform some generation activities, okay, regeneration activities, right? So maybe what the task you can perform just to make your data ready for the analysis, right? So this all together process is being done by a particular function which is called as data pre-processing function. Similarly, data visualization. So once your data processing is being done, right, and you are thinking that your data is ready for the analysis, right, then the first step is that you will move ahead for the data visualization activities. So you will choose the graph, okay, choose the graph, right, select the data, okay, uh, understand understand the graphs, okay. So these parts will be done into this particular module, okay. So this particular module will be handled by a separate team, or you can say a particular person who will just provide you the code for the data visualization activities, right? So in the data analysis activities, you know that we have some simple summary statistics, summary stats, right? Maybe you are having some inference, okay, maybe you are having some statistical modeling, right? Statistical modeling activities, right? So this kind of activities can be performed into the data analysis domain, right? So the result interpretation, so result may be in the form of maybe decision, okay, maybe in the form of any decision, okay, maybe in the form of any device, okay, right, maybe any form of device, or maybe in the form of research paper, right, maybe in the form of research paper, right? So here what you are seeing, right, so just to do a analysis for opening a mall, right, you are having these many steps, right? So if you write the code for solving these steps all together, right, so you will write a very big program, okay. Think about that, in the same program you are collecting the data, in the same program you are just pre-processing the data, okay, in the same code you are doing the data visualization, that your code will be a very huge code, okay. Now the problem with the huge code, there may be a lot of challenges are there, but let's say you are so much smart and you can write this particular code, but what the problem, common problem can come, okay. So like for example, if some line of code is not working properly, okay, then just to debugging, or you can say just to solving that particular issue in the huge program, okay, it is always be very tedious, unless you will divide this bigger problem into small component, or you can say small functions, okay. Just to resolving one or small functions is very much easy than resolving a bigger program, right? So like for example, if you feel that data collection is having some issues, then you will open the function of data collection and you will just fix up the bug from this particular module, okay. If you are thinking that the problem is on the data visualization part, then you will open the function for data visualization and you can set up the problem, solve the problem over there, right? Similarly, if you are thinking the data analysis is having some issues, then you will open the function for that particular part, and based on that you will do the data analysis activities, right? So that is why data analysis in the programming part, function is very much important, okay. Now I hope everyone is clear with the core concept or the requirement of the function, okay. So whatever the things you read up to today's session, okay, everything can be done using the function, right? So like for example, different types of data structure can be handled into the function, okay, like vector, like simple values, okay. Maybe in the function you can develop a program just to read some data, okay. Maybe whatever the task you wanted to perform, you can perform inside the function, okay. So function is very flexible, okay. You can perform any kind of activities by using the functions, okay. So since you are capable enough to understand the function, so in our yesterday's class I taught you about two types of function. One is called as inbuilt function, okay. So inbuilt function are those functions which is already being available into our R environment. Okay, or you can say whenever you are installing a software, then whatever the function is already being available into the R software, these are called as inbuilt function. But as I told in our yesterday's class, that whatever the function is available into base software or in the extended packages, sometimes these are together not able to solve our problem. Okay, at that time what we are doing, basically we are developing our own code, and based on that code we are solving our problem. Let's suppose I am working on the geology or maybe rock science or maybe the geological engineering. Okay, so at that time let's say we are doing analysis just to understand whether a particular natural hazard can happen or not. Okay, maybe this particular natural hazard will happen or not, or maybe landslide will happen or not. Okay, so just for solving this particular problem we need to write the code. Okay, and what we will do, okay, we will just write the code in such a way that we will do the analysis and we give some alarm to the people. Okay, so that people can save their life. Okay, so since this field is very naive field, less people work into this particular field, so maybe the inbuilt function is not available to do such kind of analysis, right? But since you are authorized, you are going to do this analysis. Okay, so what you will do, you will develop some functions. Okay, you will develop some function just to do such kind of analysis. Okay, and these functions you will publish. Okay, you will publish into the internet, so that whenever the other people can come, okay, they will easily find out those functions, and they can utilize your functions. Okay, just to solve their problems, right? So whatever the functions you are developing, okay, so since your function is just to develop for solving a particular problem, that is why this is called as user defined function. Okay, user defined function. So user defined function, what you understand from this particular concept, the so user defined function is mean whatever the function is written for just to solve a specific problem. Okay, that is called as user defined function, right? So user defined function can be of any type. Okay, so function can be of any type, right? So function, but the only thing is that it is having their different components. Okay, so the first component of the function, components of the function. Okay, what are the different components, right? So the first and foremost component is function name. Okay, function name. Now second component is that function arguments, right? Third is that function definition, right? And the fourth component is that function calling, right? So these are the basic components which we need to remember when you are developing your own function. Okay, so how these four components can be collaborated together. Okay, so firstly we need to write the function name. Okay, so I will write here like func name. Okay, and into the func name, right? So this is called as function name, right? Then you need to write the function, and you need to just small bracket you need to write in this way. Okay, and here you need to write the function argument. Okay, function arguments. Now what is called as arguments. Okay, so arguments means whatever the variables, whatever the things is required into this particular function. Okay, just to solve a particular problem, or you can say perform a specific kind of operations, so those things is called as function argument. Okay, so if you remember whatever the inbuilt function we have learned, like for example, let me write here matrix. Okay, if I write the matrix, then you are seeing the syntax. Okay, like here it is coming, it is telling you data is equal to na, n row is equal to 1, n col is equal to 1, by row is equal to false, div names is equal to null. Okay, so what the things is written inside this particular matrix function, right? So those things are called as argument. Okay, so why argument is important? Argument is important just because of that, based on that a particular operation will be performed, right? So like for example, here you see data is equal to means we need to pass the data over here into this particular place. N row, we need to just tell this particular function that how many number of rows will be there into this particular matrix, right? Number of columns, n call, we need to specify n call value over here. Okay, based on that our matrix function will understand that how many columns should be there into our matrix. Okay, now how our data will be arranged, either in the by rows fashion or maybe the by column function. Accordingly we need to select over here by row is equal to true or false. Okay, we need to specify the dimension names as well. Okay, if you are not specifying, it will not cause any issue. So those things are called as argument, right? So when you are developing your function, since matrix is inbuilt function, okay, so these are the default these are the parameter, you can say argument. Okay, so these are the argument we need to pass into this. But when you are developing your own function, then you need to also specify some function argument, like what the argument you will take on which you will perform some operations. Okay, after that you need to open this bracket. Okay, and here you need to write the operation. Okay, operation. So once you perform some operation, then definitely, since operation is performing, then you will get some results. Okay, so whatever the result you are getting from this particular function, you will return this output to the this particular function value, right? So here we need to write here return, and you will return the output. Okay, so wherever you will call this particular function, right, so this will take this argument. Okay, and this argument will combine together just to form an operation, just to perform an operation. So once the operation will be done, then you will return back some output values, and then those output value will be answer of this particular function, right? So this is the way how you can define a function, right? So this is called as function name, this is called as function name, right? And this is called as function definition, right? And this is called as function argument. The whole thing what I have written over here, this is called as function definition, right? So under the definition, this is called as function name, and whatever the value you will place over here, this is called as function argument, right? And this whole thing is called as function definition, right? So this is the definition, and based on that you will get your desired output, right? Now last step is that function calling, how you will call this particular function. Like for example, if you wanted to utilize this particular function, then how you will call. So you will call this function by using their name. So the name of this function is func name, func underscore name, right? And what the thing you need to specify, you need to specify the function argument, remember, right? You need to specify the function argument over here, right? So in this way you will call it. So when you run this particular code, okay, automatically a function will be created. And if you call this particular code, this is called as function calling method. So if you run this code, then whatever the output will be generated based on this particular function, this will be called, right? So this is called as this is called as this is basically a step. Based on that you will create a user defined function, right? Now let's suppose we are having some different functions. Like for example, let's say we are having a value 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. Okay, let's say we are having these values, and I wanted to perform sum of even numbers from this particular list. Okay, for sure you are having an inbuilt function. Okay, you are having an inbuilt function of a sum, and you will pass over here and you will get the desired result, right? So this is called as inbuilt function, right? That you perform simply a function, you passed a parameter over here, or you can say argument over here, right? So this is the function name, and while calling, okay, function name, and inside the bracket you need to pass the argument. So what the argument is basically a data. Okay, based on that we wanted to perform some operation, so you will pass this particular data into this particular place, right? So this is called as function calling. Okay, so you call this particular function and you are getting the desired result, right? So this is called as inbuilt function. But let me customize the requirement. Okay, let me customize the requirement and think a little bit more deeper, right? Suppose I wanted to just I wanted to just see the sum of even numbers from this particular list of numbers, right? So for example, I wanted to guess sum the value 2 4 6 8 10. Okay, what is the sum of these numbers? How you will get this particular sum? Okay, so there are no functions available in R, okay, which will only provide me the sum of even numbers. Okay, none of the function is available into our R function, even though packages. Okay, based on that we can get this type of sum. Okay, so this is a very customized requirement, right? But suppose someone asks me and I should to perform such kind of operations, based on that I will get the sum of those even numbers only. Okay, so what I will do, I will define my function. Okay, and based on this function I will perform the sum. Okay, so what I will do, okay, So I need to just firstly I need to find out whether the number is even number or odd number. Okay, so firstly we need to just figure it out, this part, right? So how you will figure it out that this is a uh, even number or odd number, right? So you need to perform steps, right? First, identify which numbers are even number or odd number. Okay, so when you are sure that the number is is number is even number or odd number, right? So you will separate even number list, okay, from the whole numbers. Okay, you will separate out the only even number list. Third step is that perform sum operation into the even list, right? So these are the three steps you need to perform just to get the sum of even number from this particular list, right? So means you need to write a function over there. Firstly you will identify which numbers are even number or odd number. So when you able to identify whether the entire number is even number or odd number, okay, you will create a separate list just to hold only the even numbers, and after that you will perform the sum operation, right? So these things together you will collect, and these things will be solve a particular problem. Okay, let's suppose I wanted to do the sum of two numbers. Okay, let's suppose a is equal to 2, okay, and b is equal to 5. Let's suppose I wanted to do the sum of those two numbers. Okay, so I will do z is equal to a plus b, right? And if I will get the result, if I wanted to see whatever the result is, then you will write z is equal to 7. Okay, so every time whenever you wanted to just get the sum, you need to change the value over here. Okay, like for example maybe 67, maybe 55. Okay, and you will get the result. Okay, you will get the result, right? You can develop a function for that as well. Okay, so like for example just changing the value into this variable is not looks very nice. Okay, so you can develop your own function which will perform the sum of two numbers, right? So how you can do this? You can perform like variable name is sum1. Okay, maybe the function name is sum1, and I will write here function, and I will pass the argument like a and b. Okay, and into this particular thing I will return, or you can say z is equal to a plus b. Okay, and return z. Okay, so this is the thing you need to write over here, right? So I just define the function. Okay, and now I need to just pass the value into this, maybe 2 comma 3. Okay, you will get the value 5. Similarly you will go to 22 32. Okay, you will get the value 54. Okay, so in that way you can create the functions. Okay, similarly this step can be performed into this particular thing. Okay, maybe you can use the loop, you can use the conditional statement. Okay, this is up to you. Okay, you try your own. Okay, just to develop such kind of functions over there, you can perform the sum of only even numbers. Okay, it's very simple what the concept of loop I taught. Okay, not more than that, this is sufficient enough. You can perform and you will get the answer of this particular problem, right? Now function calling. Okay, so function calling is little bit tricky thing. Okay, function calling is of two types. Okay, so function calling is of two types. The first thing is called as calling by reference, right? And calling by value. Okay, calling by value, right? Two things are here. So first thing is calling by reference and calling by value, right? So firstly you need to understand what is called as reference and what is called as value, right? So like for example in this particular thing, if you see this particular function, so I directly pass two value over here, right? So since I directly pass two value over here, maybe you can transform this value 32 and 22. Okay, so you will get the same answer, right? Maybe you can whatever the value you will pass, you will directly get the answer based on this particular value. Okay, place is not matters a lot over here, right? So you are seeing that either 22 will first or 32 first, or maybe 32 second, 22 first. Okay, whatever the places are there, but you are not differing with the output. Okay, since you are not differing with the output, right? So this is called as function calling by value. Okay, why? Because here directly we are just passing the value, nothing else, right? But where places matters a lot, okay, where the places matters a lot, at that time calling by reference is very much important. Okay, so like for example, right, like for example, a is equal to 32. If I will specify, okay, means how you will define the function of calling by reference. So maybe ref, okay, I just create a function called ref and function, and I will specify a is equal to a and b is equal to b, right? And here I will write z is equal to a plus b. Okay, z is equal to a plus b, and I will return here what, z, right? So if I will write in this way and ref, and it will pass 32 54, so this will return us output in this way. So this method is called as function call by value, right? But this is not the good practice just to call this value in function in this way. Always call the function in this way. Okay, like whatever the value of a and whatever the value of b, just to take value a is equal to and b is equal to. Okay, so this is called as function call by reference. Why this is important? Now this is important because here no need to worry about the positions at which position this particular value is existing. Okay, no need to worry about this particular thing. You need to specify only the reference, and wherever you are specifying the reference, it will automatically taken by the function, and it will just process and it will give you the output. Okay, so this is called as function call by value. Now we also covered in our last session about a very good function which is called as default function. Okay, default argument function. So if you remember here in the matrix function, right, so you are seeing that a matrix function I just called. Okay, this, since this is a inbuilt function, but in the inbuilt function you are seeing value is automatically being filled. Okay, like for example, data is equal to na. Okay, so if you don't pass anything into this particular matrix, right, so it will create a matrix of length na. Okay, see here, because you are just seeing the data, you are seeing the default argument of this particular matrix. Okay, you are seeing the default argument of this matrix like data is equal to na. So see here, na is there, right? N row is equal to 1 in this particular matrix, one row is there, right? And call is equal to 1 is set up, and number of column is only 1. By row is equal to false. Okay, so since there is only one argument, so we cannot see this particular argument action over here, right? Dim names also is not defined over here, null. Okay, so we are seeing in this way, right? So since these value is automatically being kind of a defined over here, right? These values is being automatically defined over here. So these values since defined already over here, even though you are not specifying anything, so whatever the things is specifying over here, this will by default take this example, right? So since these values is default written over here, right? So if you change the value, then it will change. But if you will not change the value, then whatever the default value is being placed, this will perform their action. Okay, so this is called as default argument. So this is all about functions. Okay, so with this I am almost complete the basic introduction of our programming sessions. Okay, and this is today's is the last session. So maybe in our next classes we will move ahead for the next topic in advanced R programming. Okay, but for sure your revision, your question and answer is very much important. Okay, so do revision for the basic R programming. If you feel any doubt, any question up to this point, always let me know. Okay, so maybe next session onwards we will move ahead for the new chapter, or you can say the new topic is in under the advanced R concepts. Okay, so with this I am closing today's session. So if anyone have any questions, maybe we can discuss, otherwise I will close today's sessions. Thank you everyone.